Across America, the protests against police brutality and protests for massive reform to the police have been incredibly powerful in changing public opinion in a short period of time. But it is likely that a short period of time is not going to be enough to address the severity of the problem these protests have been formed to combat. And joining us now is someone who's going to break down sort of the road, the challenge ahead for us. Justice correspondent at The Nation, Elie Mystal, welcome to the Damage Report.
Thank you so much for having me, John.
Thank you. Our whole team really enjoyed your recent article on The Nation about how you're not going to take down this centuries-old structure in just 2 weeks. Can you tell us a little bit about why you felt it was important to make sure that people understood that?
Absolutely. Well, I want to start by saying, welcome, white people. Nice to have you. I've been saying a lot. Let's ignore the fact that some people are late to the party and embrace the fact that they showed up at all. So I am happy with these protests that they're so multiracial, multi-ethnic. I think that's an important part of what we're seeing right now. This is a long-term fight. I've been writing publicly facing since 2008, and I have a sense that anything that I've written about police brutality ever, all I have to do is change the name of the victim, and the name of the cop, and the name of the town, and I can just republish any article that I wrote in 2009 in 2020. And I fear that I'll be able to republish all these articles that I'm writing in 2020 and 2025. This requires structural change and reform. And in order for us to get there, people have to be focused on this issue, not just during protests, not just when another body cam, dashboard cam, cell phone cam of another African-American victim comes forward. We have to be focused on this issue all the time, not just when there are protests, not just when there's a cell phone video of another victim. We need to be focused on that when we go to vote, not just in November, but in the primaries. Not just for your president or your senator, but for your mayor and for your district attorney. The structural reform that's needed is so wide-ranging that maintaining focus on this issue is what it's going to take to prevent me from having to write these same articles 3 or 4 years down the road.
Well, so let's talk about this. If it's obviously going to take quite a while, it's not going to be solved in one set of protests or one election or one bill or any of that. I want to understand some of the things that might increase the odds that long term it succeeds and some of the challenges along that way. You mentioned there, sort of welcoming white people to the party. And saying, late to the party, but still good to see there. Is the concern that the people who are latest to the party might be the first to leave the party when it's no longer, front and center in the news every day?
Absolutely, John. Look, this is a concern. I'm an African-American male. I've got 2 African-American children, boys. This is a concern for me every day. All right, this is police brutality is something that I think about every time I turn on the ignition to my car, every time my kids and I go out for a bike ride. All right, so this is never far from my mind. It is far from the mind of lots of white people every day, and there's an unavoidable aspect to that. If it's not in your face, if you're not worried about it every day, I understand how people sometimes forget about this issue. But this is a concern for me every day. And to get change, we're gonna have to need the same kind of multi-ethnic, multiracial, intersectional support for police to reform police brutality at times when maybe people haven't thought about it for a while. And that's what it's gonna take. And I do worry that people aren't ready for the kind of the long-term part of this fight.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.